If you don't know how to receive the ball in football or how to put yourself in positions to do so, not only are you not going to get the ball that much in matches, you're going to lose it when you do get it. So in this video, we're going to be going over how to receive the ball in matches in a way that not only gives you more opportunities to do so, but to do better things with it, help your team out more and have better performances when you do. That's coming up next. So hi there, my name is Dave and this is Simplysoccer. If you're new to the channel where I'm releasing videos every single week to help you improve your game and stand out the pitch. Now something that's going to help you do that immediately is to get my free ebook Game Changer, which you can get for free down below in the description. It's the first link. And this is a full-blown like 50+ page ebook. It's not just some free like 1 or 2 page thing. It's very comprehensive and will help you a lot. Again, absolutely free, so get that down below. So let's get started with how you can do this, starting in reverse order with number 5, and that is scanning properly. And you've probably heard a lot of people talk about this, but you need to know where your teammates are, your opponents, and where the space is. And to do that, you need to be scanning and looking and be aware all of the time. And if you watch the best players, they do this constantly because the pitch is always changing. If you're scanning, you have more awareness, which gives you more options, which gives you more ability to maneuver. If you don't, when you receive the ball, you're not going to know what to do with it. You might panic, you might lose the ball, you might not exploit space. You know, you might be one of those people, you get the ball and you don't turn when there's acres of space and you pass it back and it just kind of ruins a potential attacking opportunity. So it's so important to be scanning, always looking when you're practicing certain receiving drills to make sure you're doing some also that have to do with awareness, because it's going to be so valuable and important when you actually get into games. Now, number 4 is knowing what type of touch to take. Now, a lot of times you want to do this by instinct, and in order to really get good at instinctually doing this, you need to practice each of these techniques. Get good at controlling the ball really well with the inside, the outside, the top of the feet, being able to do different turns, being able to take your first touch in different directions, being able to shield the ball, because the better and more instinctively you can do these things, which happens through practice, then when you need to do a specific touch that's going to help you out in a certain situation when you receive the ball, you're going to be able to do it and not have to really only rely on one type of touch or only be one-dimensional in this area. So with a teammate or against a wall, I would practice all different types of first touches with both of your feet, different spins, different just simple inside touches, letting the ball come across your body, and get really good at each of these techniques. For those of you in my passing and receiving mastery course, you'll know how valuable it is to be good at these, because as you go through that, it just kind of naturally makes you better at these things. And if you're interested in learning more about that course, you can check that out down below. Also, if you're enjoying this video so far or you're getting something out of it, please hit the like button and we'll move on to number 3. Now, this one is something you really have to get good at so you're not losing the ball, because if you start losing the ball every time you get it, your teammates are not going to want to pass it to you. You're not going to get it as often. And that's how to use your body to protect the ball with your first touch or when you receive it. Like a lot of times when you get the ball, there's going to be someone either close on you or they're going to be closing you down. You're going to find very few instances where you're always getting the ball in a ton of space, and we'll go over what to do in those instances. But ultimately, learn how to protect the ball. Learn how to take your first touch and then get your body in between the man and the ball. Learn how to take the ball away from someone with your first touch so that you can shield it. If you look at some of the best players, one of my favorite players to look at in the past that did this so well was Zinedine Zidane. He was so good at taking his first touch in a way where he was able to shield the ball. He used his body masterfully. Eden Hazard used to use this to even beat opponents and did this well in his prime at Chelsea, and many other players. But I would go take a look at Zidane and just how he manipulates the ball to give himself the advantage over his opponent so he can protect it and also do other things with it. But definitely look for this one, how he protects the ball, because he was just such a master at this, and it's why it was so hard to get the ball off him. It was practically impossible to get the ball off Zidane. Well, number 2 is huge if you want to be a more impactful player, especially in the attack, and it's learn how to exploit the space. This is what players like, for example, Kevin De Bruyne do very well, is they recognize where open space is or how to create passing lanes for themselves, not only so they can receive the ball more, but they can also hurt their opposition. This is finding pockets of space between the defensive and midfield line. It's also knowing how to come back and receive the ball if you're more kind of metronome type player, more playmaker type player. But again, a player I would look at is Kevin De Bruyne, because he is really the modern day player I think does this so beautifully. If you ever seen him kind of receive the ball in the half turn, drive at the opposition and play a killer through ball, or or even score a goal is because he does this so effectively. When you're scanning, you're also trying to see where the space is so that you can get into it quickly, ask for the ball, turn or pass it off, or create something else. And this is something you want to be doing constantly before you receive the ball, continually scanning and trying to exploit those spaces. Because again, the more aware you are, the more you're going to know where these spaces are. And then if you do get the ball, you're going to be able to do more damage and do some of the other things that we went over. And number one, finally, is know when to take risks with your first touch. I already mentioned some players who are able to turn others with their first touch. Eden Hazard was an absolute expert at this. A player would get close to him, he would turn them. A player would try and close him down, he'd be able to turn them. And he was so magically good at this, but also know when to take these risks. Again, if you're scanning and you see a ton of open space, don't be afraid to try and turn and exploit that space. Know when, an opponent's so tight on you that they aren't expecting you to turn them. Or know when they've kind of misjudged it and they're closing you down too late and you can turn them using their own momentum against them. Know when to take risks when you're receiving the ball, because you can literally take an opponent out of the play by doing this correctly. It's a little more advanced, and again, I wouldn't do this in dangerous areas. I would stick to your attacking third or when you know you have a lot of space to work with, but it can be something that can really add an element to your game when you know how to turn into space, when you know how to use an opponent's body or your body to beat an opponent, when you know how to turn players. It's going to be an amazing asset. And again, players like De Bruyne are so good at it. Eden Hazard, like I mentioned, in his heyday, Coutinho in his heyday for Liverpool used to do this all the time as well. So good at just being able to take risks in a way that help them to advance up the pitch and really help their team in the attacking phase of the game. Now, when you are receiving the ball, you're going to want to know how to not lose it. So I go watch this video next where I'm going over some of the habits to develop so you stop losing the ball, so you kind of become like Zidane-esque, like we were talking about. These will go a long way so you're not losing it, so your teammates don't get frustrated at you, and so on. So go check that out next.